Hello Flosstube, this is Kim, also known as Spartan Stitcher on Instagram, and I am back today with Flosstube number 19. It is the 3rd of June, so we have a little bit of a Stitch Mania recap, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my June plans, so let's get right to it. I hope everybody had a good Mania, and a good start to the summer break for those that have school-age children. Okay, so the homework for last week in the School of Magical Stitches was to use your WIPs and spell out the acronym SPEW, or the Society for the Protection of Elfish Welfare. I think I have it right this time. Which Hermione started to protect the house elves. And you could use the first letter of the title of the design, or the designer's company name, or either initial of the actual designer's name. And I did make some changes to what I told you I was going to work on, just because I'm a little full coverage. I have some full coverage burnout. I want to work on some of my other pieces that I haven't seen in over a month. So I made a few changes, and I had an obvious thing pointed out to me, so that was one of the changes too. So let's get to it. For S, I thought I was going to stitch on my museum shelf, my supersized piece, but instead I went to Sunday Delight by Randall Spangler. This is the page where I've done this is the one I've done all the partial pages, and I'm down here working on this giant banana, and I have a huge block of one color to do. So it was real easy. Even though it's 10 stitches, I just had to do 400 yellow stitches of my banana. So there I am, getting more banana filled in. There is another color of yellow in there, but I've already done that. So it's just simple fill in what's left. For Full Coverage Fanatics, the June monthly theme is Summer Fun. So I am going to work on this more in June for Summer Fun, and also by the numbers 1200. So hopefully I'll get more of this page done with my banana, and then I'll give you a quick overview of what the whole piece looks like. I've got all the partial pages done. So it's time. This piece needs like an actual full page done. I'm not saying we're going to get that done in June, but the only way it's going to get there is to work on it. I talked last week about revisiting my goals. My goal for this one for the year was just to get one full page done, and this one's going to stay the same. It's not my focus piece right now, but I want to get some progress on it. So at least one full page done on this one. So I'll be working on that this month, because ice cream and summer just goes together. Okay, I'm a little out of order because I didn't pile things up in the right order. So the W in SPEW is Camelot Sampler by Teresa Wentzler. And I decided to work on this Twisted Vine sampler, which is 1/1 on 28 count. So 200 stitches there. And so I did some filling in of the leaves, and brought the whole piece more towards this Camelot medallion. So just trying to fill this in. I kind of made it harder on myself because I already backstitched the circle of the medallion, and I need to try to squeeze some 1/1 stitches underneath that backstitch, because the backstitch kind of cuts across the diagonal of those singular stitches. But I'm getting them in there. And even though this is a Teresa Wentzler, the 1/1, while it is an eye strain, it's not that difficult because there's no blended threads in that part. And so it's really easy for me to, instead of doing, cross country across the whole thing, I'd pick one color that's the furthest this way. I use that whole length of thread. Then I pick the next empty spot that's furthest this way and use a whole length of thread. And if I get to where you can see I parked some because I didn't want to just keep coming across. I was just trying to fill in these spaces. So this is one instance. Because this piece is so small, I am using some parking just to keep it focused and keep filling in those areas. For the May-June extra credit in Magical Stitches, there's one that's work on something that you would find in the Great Maze of task number 3. You can work on something that's geometrical. Yeah, geometrical or vines, that kind of thing. So I think I'm going to do my 500 stitches on this twisted vine, and that will get me a great deal farther into, because, you know, it's not that thick right there, so it'll get me probably like over here, right where that Arthur comes down. So that's on the plans for June, is to work more on that. So that's S and W. For E, I pulled out this Blackwork kit from Elizabeth Almond of Blackwork Journey. It's called Satisfaction. It's a freebie on her website. I will link it in the description. And this, I cannot count my day complete till needle, thread, and fabric meet. Never mind my chicken scratch here. I had to, because this is backstitch essentially, I had to add it all up and then be able to divide it by 2, because backstitch only counts as half. My one problem with this pattern is when I printed it out, I'll show the pattern back here, there were some grid lines missing on the piece. And grid lines are very important when you're dealing with a blackwork piece. It was just sporadic, like the vertical lines, half of them stopped halfway through the design. And so it was like every other vertical line was missing halfway up. And then horizontally, there was like a middle chunk where it's like every other line was missing. So in order not to drive myself nuts trying to determine where each line was supposed to be as I was doing the backstitching and blackwork, before I started the piece, I took a pencil and my ruler. Pencil because I didn't want to, you know, confuse my grid lines with the design lines, and I drew in the rest of the lines. Yeah, they're not perfect, but they're enough where I can tell where I'm supposed to be going next. I haven't bought any patterns from her website, so I don't know if this was just a one-off problem with this particular pattern, or if it was a problem with my printer, or what. But it'll definitely be something that you notice if you ever work on her patterns, if the issue is more than just in this one pattern. So I did this on Picture This Plus 32 count Lugana in Mercedes. And where did that? Oh, my L came out. My L. I have to fix it. So there is just shy of 450 back stitches, and you can see my L came loose. That's the problem with back stitching. It gets hard to tuck everything in on the back tight enough where it'll keep. So I'm gonna have to fix my L and till. So I was working on all the black parts because in the design it's got 2 different shades of pink. There's one shade for the backstitch lines and another shade for the few bits of regular cross stitches in there. Obviously, I'm not going to choose pink for this fabric. I'm probably going to go back to that same blue that I used in Postcards of the World, because it works well with this fabric, in my opinion. So I'll finish the black first. I'll fix that L, and then I'll do take the blue and do the blue lines to keep working on the border and those stars. But the words are done except for that L. So there was my E in spew. And then for P, I was going to work on that tiny little artiste kit from Hobby Lobby for purple quilt block, because that was the name of the piece. But then later in last week's video, I showed you the project bag that I made, and I was telling you that I had Pretty Little Paris in there because that was some piece that I wanted to start this year, just didn't know when, blah, 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 blah. And Anna, she's a very active member in Full Coverage Fanatics, and she's a fellow Ravenclaw. She tagged me in a post in our common room, and she's like, Kim, you can use Pretty Little Paris, you know? It starts with a P. And I'm like, duh, thank you. Just another reason to show how out of it I was last week and how rushed, and I wasn't thinking about things when I was going through my big bin of kitted items, that it just didn't even click to me that Pretty Little Paris starts with a P. And I had originally kitted that up with the Fiddler's Ada that I told you about. But then Helen D., Flosstuber, she started this piece earlier in May for Mania, and she was using a gray fabric, and I just loved the way it looked, and those colors really popped. But I tried to use the Fiddlers because that's what I had, and it was, you know, ready to go. And I started on the here's the design. I started on the hot air balloon because that was kind of top center. And I did about 22 stitches, and I said, no, I can't do this. The color didn't pop from the color fabric, so I had to stop. I took all that out, saved the fabric for another piece later on, and then the next day, even though I wanted to get my homework done on Monday and Tuesday, I said, no, I'm not going to be happy with it. So Wednesday morning, I dyed a piece of Monaco because I still have a whole lot of Monaco left, and you know I have all that RIP dye, so I dyed a piece of Monaco. I did the 200 stitches for the homework, and then I also used this for the May and June extra credit of a mode of transportation because it's a hot air balloon. So this piece has the 200 from homework plus the 500 for extra credit. So there she is. I still have to do the basket for the hot air balloon, and since top center is right in between these two, so I did the balloon, and then I just came over and started doing the Eiffel Tower. And so there's a total of over 700 stitches, and I really like how it looks on the gray. So that's 28 count Monaco with Brit dye. So Pretty Little Paris is started. Thank you, Anna, for pointing out the obvious that just wasn't making it through my brain. Let's see. So that was my homework. And then I told you that, it was going to be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Not sure how much, I had to get through the end of May and what could I possibly get another page finish. And I did. Hold on. I got needle minders sticking together. I went back to Hogwarts Travel Poster like I thought I would because it was an easy piece. And I finished up this partial page with this side of the castle. This is by Country Magic Stitch on Etsy by custom order only. I'll put the link to her shop below. So now I have over half the design done. This was my New Year, New Start for this year. And it's out of the Q-Snap now, so you can see this whole piece is gridded. That's how big it's going to be. So I've got over halfway done. And since I gridded the whole piece at once, I could, cut across and eliminate most of this gridding. I just didn't get around to it. But you'll be able to see it better once I get rid of that gridding. But that does show you that I try not to stitch over it. There's a couple places where I've stitched over the gridding where I couldn't, get get my needle through the hole without going over it. And that way, when I pull the gridding out, it doesn't really distort my stitches any. So that was the end of my page finish mania. And once I get through, no, let's just talk Mania right now. I made a visual aid because 2 reasons. I'm a visual learner, so I retain things better when I see it. And so I'm catering to other visual learners. And also, it's a whole lot easier for me to make a visual aid and hold it up here in the video than to put this video in software and edit it and then have to save it and then upload it to YouTube. Because I have a kid at home because it's summer break and my little one is at preschool. So we're going to do things the easy way. So, Mania recap. I had 6 WIPs, 6 full coverage WIPs that I worked on for page finishes, 6 full pages, 2 partial pages, and here's the stitch. Let me hold this steady. There's the stitch counts. And this is all, my WIPs are abbreviated. So, oh baby, it was just over 700 stitches left on that first page that I set myself up for success. The second page, because I had started it in April, I only had 6,500 stitches left. Let me see if I can get this to focus a bit more. And it's backwards for me on the screen, so I'm reading backwards. Museum shelf was 635 stitches for that partial page finish. At that corner of the dinosaurs, Friends Forever was 1.6 1,600 stitches. Kindred Spirits was 1,300 stitches. For Hogwarts, the full page I put in 3,000 stitches. For the partial page I put in 2,000 stitches. And the Summer Ball was, so all of these are tint, and this is the only full cross. So 5,900 stitches plus the back stitching that I didn't count. So total of 10 stitching, I had 15,710 stitches, and then 5,900 full stitches for a total of over 21,000 full coverage stitches for the month of May. I think I should save this visual aid in case I want to do page finish mania again and I can compare it. I just need to put a 2019 somewhere on here so I know. And then the other side is something I'll talk to you in a minute. So that was my mania. I'll go ahead and I'll show you Oh Baby, which is my 90-day piece for full coverage fanatics. I haven't been working very much on this at all. My focus, I told you I'm a little full coverage, sick of it right now. So I'm getting progress. I'm just not getting a ton of progress. So I finished the black. I did some more brown. And then I decided this past weekend to come up here and start working on the different shades of green up here. So, but I haven't worked on this today, so I'll work more on it today before I post my weekly update in the 90-day challenge event. So I'll keep working on that. And then, not yesterday, June 1st, Saturday, was World Outlander Day. There was a single day sale in Stitch Mania for any Outlander patterns, and I've told you before that I had a pattern in my Etsy store. I hadn't ever stitched it up. It was just one of those, like, I saw the design on a Facebook ad and I said, that looked really cool as a cross stitch pattern. So I drew it in my program and slapped it up on my Etsy shop. My patterns don't cost very much. But the way that I charted it reflects how it was on the t-shirt. So it was like a silhouette. It was all in black. And it was the standing stones at Craignadoon, or Craignadoon, however you want to pronounce it. And it says, Craignadoon Travel Company will take you places. And so for World Outlander Day, I went through my fabric. I had this spare piece of like cream 18 count Ada. So it was just really easy to pop this in my 8x8 Q-snap and get started on it. I decided though to play around with color. I didn't want to just do it in black because I didn't like the look of black, you know, on the cream Ada. So I was using what I had because I don't have an LNS here. I have quite a few of the DMC variegated, and also I have this left over from, let's see if it'll focus, Guardians of Notre Dame by Ingleside Imaginarium from Brittany. Because I worked on 32 count and Brittany's model was on 28 count, she said 3 skeins for 28 count, and I only ended up using, I had about this much left of my second skein when I finished Guardians. So this is half a length, all 6 strands, and then almost 2 whole strands of the other half a length. So we're just a little less than half a length, or a little more than half a length left of my second skein. So I had a whole nother skein besides this and this. And I stitched up, not knowing how much I would need, but I figured if I didn't get all the standing stones done, and I had to get another skein of this, it wouldn't be a bad thing as long as I didn't like change skeins in the middle of a standing stone, because not all stones are going to look the same. So I was stitching this up for World Outlander Day. I also used it for the pop-up event in Magical Stitches for Rita Skeeter. We had to try to get, each house had to try to get 15,000 stitches. So I did like 600 on one day, and I was going to keep going, but then our house had already gotten what we needed, and there's no bonus points for getting more stitches than that. So then I kept going, and I had enough stitches for one of the ultimate tasks, which I'll talk about. So I finished all the standing stones, like just before I started recording, because I made a mistake and I had to fix it. So this is how much I had left in one skein, and I used that up and used the full skein I had until I had the same amount left. So this pattern uses like to the last little bit, 1 whole skein of Simply Shaker Gast threads, Moonlight Path, if you like my model stitch. And then for the grass, I used DMC 4066, which is a variegated green. So the standing stones and the grass is done. I still have to do all the words down at the bottom. Now, in Guardians of Notre Dame, my skeins of Moonlit Path had very little variegation. It's a gray with little bits of lavender in it, but you couldn't see it in Guardians. But when I took a picture of this and put it on Instagram, you can see the variegation, and you can still see some purple spots on those stones here. So it's showing up here, but it never showed up in Guardians. So I didn't want just a regular plain solid gray. I let my son like it, Scott. Needle minder with Jamie. So now all I have to do are the words. Craig Nadoon Travel Company will take you places. I don't know what color I'm going to do yet. We'll see. But I started from the center, and I did all of this side, and then I went this way, and I was doing the stones and the ground a little bit at a time. But then I thought, well, if I run out of the Gast, I don't want the stone that's a different color to be this one at the end. So I went from this one, and I jumped and I did this one, counting off this side of the grass. And I still had enough, so I'm like, great, I'm going to have enough for this small one. So I counted off this one and did that. And guess what? Somehow I messed up on my grass. My grass was too long, and so my spacing here was off. Which, I mean, you're thinking, hey Kim, it's your own design, you can fix it. But if this is longer, then I have to recenter my letters, and it's not exactly meeting the pattern that I created. So I didn't frog because I was saving that floss. I reverse stitched very carefully the outline of this stone and the little bit I had filled in and this entire stone and moved it over to where it should be, and then shortened this to where it should be. So that's the correct way that I charted it. Now I just have to do the letters. So it's been a fun stitch. The ultimate task that I counted the 1,000 extra stitches for was the 7 secret passages to Hogsmeade. Because Craig na Dun is a secret way to travel through time. Like other places of standing stones. Secret ways to travel different places. So I think that's a pretty clever tie-in. So I now have 15 out of the 22 ultimate tasks are done. Okay, let's see, plans. So just like normal, I'm going to work on Oh Baby keep working on it for the 90-day, and that's also going to be my by the numbers June 2400 piece. And then my other focus piece that I want to work on in June also ties into this week's homework, which is the first task of the Tri-Wizard tournament to get around a broody dragon and pick up the golden egg. And you have to tie in your piece. What's in your piece is going to help you get that golden egg from the dragon. And the piece, one of my goals for this year that needs more work is that I want to finish Guardian Angel by Lavender and Lace. Focus. Okay, this is a remembrance piece for my 3 miscarriages. So, my little story to tie this in is that this Guardian Angel is obviously really good at taking care of babies. So she is going to whisper sweet nothings into the ear of the dragon and convince the dragon that she should be watching over the eggs and caring for her babies and, be like a nanny and help her out. And while the dragon's not looking, I am going to get my golden dragon egg. Because my guardian angel is protecting me, but also helping the dragon at the same time. Kind of diffusing the situation. So, where I'm at on this piece. Let me focus the camera again. All right. She's got a massive dress. I'd say it's probably 3/4 done. I have to, this floppy natural linen. All right, let me hold this up next to it. So, I still have this darkest green over here to do where my finger is. I've got to bring that cream all the way down. I've got a little more green under the flower swag. I don't have any of the, well, I've got a tiny sliver of green in front of that maroon, but that needs to be bigger. So more green and flowers over here, and then everything above her sleeve and the wings. I've got a lot left to go, so this piece obviously needs more attention if I want to finish it this year. This is the natural linen that was called for. There are no beads on this piece. Again, it just has the gold metallic, which I substituted petite treasure braid. And it'll have more, you see those empty spaces there. Those will be filled with petite treasure braid that you can kind of see up at the top. So, she needs more work. So I will be trying to fit her into everything I can fit her into. Both homework. I can't fit her into any extra credit. I've only got 3 tests left for extra credit. So it's the Maze, which is going to be Camelot. Something found in the Great Lake, which I'm going to see if I can do Big Red Ship of Life. Or I don't remember what my other option was. And then what was the other one? No, I can't even remember. I'll have to tell you about it later. Nope, can't remember. Okay. My other side of my visual aid. Something Ann is the creator of Full Coverage Fanatics. I'm her co-admin. Something that, you know, I alluded to a couple months ago, that we've been brainstorming different sale ideas for Full Coverage Fanatics, just because all this creativity with magical stitches has gotten our creative juices going. And we finally announced, because we thought people like to plan, they need to know this ahead of time. So a new challenge for in the month of July is going to be stitching the Tour de France. So there's several different options. Okay, now this came about because last year about this time, Katie from Stitch Mania, the admin there, you know, she always asks for ideas and inputs as to different sale ideas. And I came up with the idea last year that we should have a challenge like she's done the Olympic challenges and the election challenges, where it's a different theme each day and you try to fit it, something related to the tour, be it the number of countries, the number of riders per team, you know, different things. And Anne saw my comment of, you know, that idea last year and really liked it. And as we were talking this year, I said, well, how can we make that fit Full Coverage Fanatics? And the idea was 1 stitch per kilometer of the race. But then Anne took it a step even further and broke it out by the different colored jerseys that you can win. So we can stitch the tour, which starts on the 6th of July through the 28th. And here's the most of the details. The different colored jerseys you can go for. Yellow jerseys for the overall winner. They do the entire distance. So 3,400 stitches, roughly, excuse me. The green jersey is for those riders that are good on the sprinting phases, the flat phases. For that, there's just over 1,500 stitches. Or if you're a mountain person and you like the hills, you can try for the spotted jersey or the polka dot jersey. And that's over 1,800 stitches. Now remember, these are all full cross. So if you're a tent stitcher, you have to double these numbers. Okay? For the white jersey, that means you're a rookie. You haven't participated in any other Full Coverage Fanatics sales or challenges. And if you're challenge, which starts July 1st, you can still claim the rookie jersey because they're starting just about the same time. So the tour is the 6th to the 28th. You cannot start before the 6th. Absolutely cannot start before the 6th. However, for rest days, you can catch up on whatever stitches you need to. Or, even though you don't start until the 6th, if you're like going on a family vacation and you still want to participate, you can stitch ahead of the race. But you have to still be posting your pictures. So, go to Full Coverage Fanatics, go to the event for all the details. But we're going to be using FCF Stitching the Tour 19. I chose this one because anything that, if we were to say Tour de France FCF or FCF Tour de France or Stitching the Tour de France, the problem is with Instagram is that people select recommended hashtags without checking to see what they're all about. So I wanted something that still linked to the tour but wasn't specific to non-stitchers so they wouldn't accidentally steal our hashtag. So you can go ahead and start your post in our event, save it, declare what jersey you're going for, but again, no stitching until the 6th of July. So that's going to be really fun. Okay, I went longer than I had to, and now I have to put this into my editing software anyways, because after the 32-minute mark, my phone splits it up into 2 different files. So, hope you guys have a good week. I have one more regular video, and then my family's going on vacation, and so I might, 2 weeks from now, my videos are going to be a little off, but I want to keep this weekly recording. So I'll have to figure out what to do, if I'm going to use the YouTube recording function on the app and then upload it from there, or what. Because obviously I won't have my computer with me when we're on vacation. So, have a good stitchy week, guys, and I will see you later. Bye.